And welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins here, John Merrill. How you doing, John?
Hey, Ken, great to see you again.
Good to see you. Been on the road again.
Yes, sir.
Willie Nelson wrote a song about you.
He did, yes, sir.
You put, how many miles you put on that car?
Oh, Lord, I've got 347,000 miles on it
This
today.
week?
Yes, sir. Not this week, but it's still getting 30 miles to the gallon, so roll tide.
People don't realize this guy was Secretary of State traveling, and his signature on all of his mail is all 67. And I don't know how many times you did all 67, but it's more than once, I bet you.
I've done it 11 times.
11
This will be the 12th time that I've done it. And since January the 1st of this year, I've been to 46 of the 67 counties for 396 unique visits to those 46 counties.
Here's a John Merrill story. I was having a meal at our church, and it was like all game. Everything you could think of, from possum to rabbit to whatever, to rat. They was cooking at the church.
Iron City
Baptist Church. And they had snake. Well, that day, John was in Mobile for some kind of an engagement. At noon, he was in Opp, Alabama. They never heard of Opp, Alabama? You relate that to rattlesnake. They had a rattlesnake rodeo. They eat snake. They do all. Did you eat snake, by the way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely he did. And he ate snake and then drove all the way to Iron City, which is near Heflin, or you might as well say. That was hundreds of miles he drove that day just to get up there to eat some crazy food and fellowship with some of us. And I'll never forget that. I would have never tried that. Maybe to Mobile back, I don't know, but not to stop and eat rattlesnake. But that was On the Road with John Merrill. I need to do a show here on the Road with John. But anyhow, back to this week's topics. I told you about San Diego and the horns as we left. Last week's show, I told you about how the people are going to warn rather than use weapons. They're going to blow the horn. Well, that's going to notify the neighbors, and I don't know what they're going to do when they're notified. But we've heard so much about Biden's green deals with electric cars and whatever. He found this company and he put thousands and thousands of dollars into this company to build the first ever electric buses. I said buses, yellow buses. And the company built the buses. There's no customers for them. Nobody wants a yellow bus. They're watching all these cars burn up. What would it be like to be in a bus burning up from the same thing that's burning up the cars? Well, I was telling somebody earlier today, if I had to mandate it by the law, I don't know if I could get if I had the money to buy an electric car, would I buy one, knowing what happens when it rains and it gets wet. You got two things, you got a hot post and you got a negative. And if water crosses over and puts those two posts together, you're going to be the first car in orbit without a spaceship. And Elon Musk's not going to help you on this one, buddy. So anyhow, the bus company that he put so much money in, so much faith, and we heard Kamala Harris talking about the little yellow buses. Who doesn't love a little yellow bus? I don't like little yellow buses. Got nothing against them driving on the road, but I don't want to be on one. Because I was telling John earlier, boy, them were bad roads. When you bounce around in them, you went to the top of the ceiling a lot.
That's right, especially if you're in the back of it. Yes, sir, you're going to take flight.
Yeah, so anyhow, that deal went bust, went bankrupt. Our money, our tax dollar, on the first bus company out of the chute. Nobody wants them. And they was also building cars. Nobody wants them either. So when you're looking at $65,000, $70,000 versus 35, there's a big difference there.
Well, the biggest problem that we have, Ken, is when you're talking about electric vehicles, this is something that's being directed by the government. It's something that's being directed by your tax dollars, and it's not being directed by the market. Anytime there's ever been a major change in the history of our country related to manufacturing, related to the creation of jobs, related to new inventions and new innovations, it's happened because of the market and the market making that demand. It's not happening because somebody in Washington who thinks they know everything is going to be the one to tell you this is the direction that we need to go now. If they were that smart, they wouldn't be in an elected position. They'd be out in the market actually making real money instead of trying to tell everybody what to do. Of course, as we know, there's a number of elected officials that firmly believe that whenever they enter a room, they're the smartest person in the room. The other thing that you need to remember is that when most people get elected to public office, their IQ goes up 25 points. And whenever that happens, they feel like they're better prepared to tell you what you need to be doing with your money, what you need to be buying, and why it's important to you to follow the suggestions that they make. That's a problem.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to find out. They're going to subsidize people to buy electric vehicles. We know that's going to happen. Where's that money coming from? That has not been allocated. So you're going to go down and you say you own a Toyota that's got a few years on it, a few miles on it, and you're going to have to get out of it. No gasoline vehicle. So now you've got to buy a electric vehicle in the 75 is the average cost. So if they get them down to 65,000, just think about that. And with the abilities to catch fire, I've had a discussion with a person that is in automobile insurance with a big company, and it's a big company called Allstate. I don't mind saying it. They are wondering if they really, in fact, are ready to start insuring electric cars on a large basis because of the situation that's happening to them out there.
Well, and you don't want to be charging your vehicles inside your garage at night, because if there is an ignition that occurs, it will burn down your entire house. And we don't want that to happen to anybody. We certainly don't want it to happen to you. We know you're paying attention to what's going on at home, and we're so thankful you're paying attention to what's going on in this week's episode of Brainstorming America. We'll see you back after this break.
Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins here with John Merrill. And John, when we went to break, we was talking about that favorite yellow bus, electric bus, going bust. The bus went bust. His first out, Biden's first outing was electric buses. Let's go to something that's dear and dear to all of us, and that is gas prices. And the reason for that, OPEC decided, everybody should know what OPEC is. That's a conglomeration of all your Middle Eastern oil companies.
Sure, the Organization for Petroleum Exporting
Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iran, all of them together decided they would cut back on the distribution of oil. That way, we'd have a shortage of oil, because America has decided, or somebody in America decided it'd be a good idea to quit producing oil. As I remember it, John, would I be right in saying that when former President Trump left office, we were the self-sufficient producing of oil? We didn't have to buy oil from anyone, did we?
No doubt about that. And our oil reserves were where they needed to be.
Yep.
And our production was as high as it's ever been.
Yep.
And gasoline prices were $1.79 a gallon.
And when you said emergency oil reserves, think about that word, emergency, meaning that word, if you use it, emergency. Why would we have an emergency for oil? They don't have any, can't get any. Countries like Russia that we pay millions of dollars per day, you heard me, millions of dollars per day to buy oil from Russia. Russia wants to cut our oil off, just gets mad at us to cut it off. We're in trouble, because our reserve oil, your president said, we're not going to replenish. We're not replenishing emergency oil. Think about that. A president, a commander-in-chief, the executive of this country, says to you, the American public, and me, we got oil that's used for emergencies, such as if some powerful country decides they want to keep us from that oil, that we'll have our own in reserve. He says we're not going to replenish it. Never in my life, and I'm over 40, have I heard of a president that wouldn't replenish our emergency oil. If they had to use it, they always replenished it. Have you ever heard that, John?
No, as a matter of fact, it's required to do that so that our country will not be vulnerable.
And that's
when we put our country in a vulnerable position, it puts us in a position where we have to worry about our own protection from those that wish to do us ill or harm, whether it's the Russians, whether it's the Chinese, whether it's any of our enemies that are foreign or domestic. And the strategic oil reserve for the emergency use of that petroleum has to be paramount in the minds of our elected officials, from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue up to the U.S. Capitol. And if we're not giving the attention that that deserves, then we're putting the entire nation at risk.
I guess you would agree with me saying that one of the countries that hates this country more than any of them would be Iran. They practice saying how much they hate America. And they are a source, just like Saudi Arabia, they are a source of oil. Our president has put us into a position as to having to depend on them at times, that he will buy oil from Iran, he'd buy it from Venezuela. Now the thing, when you hear him buying from Venezuela, the word is that that's some of the dirtiest oil that you can buy, which means when you talk about the Green Deal that we got to take care of the air. One of the problems is what the emissions are going to be. If your vehicle is getting fuel from Venezuela, you're burning the nastiest, dirtiest fuel that you can get, believe me. And there are service stations around. There's one outside of Montgomery that comes from Venezuela. So when you hear the deals that this president's doing, pay attention to what they're doing, because they will affect you in Heflin, they'll affect you in Gadsden. Wherever you're watching this show, you will be affected by these rules that this president is making. And it seems to me, with the border and everything else, that he's mad at this country for some reason. He don't like it very much. That because the things he's doing are against you and me.
And they're certainly against our better interest.
Absolutely. When you go up to the fuel pump next time, just think how stupid this is that you're paying that amount of money for fuel that you don't have to pay. We're the biggest fuel oil producer there is. And so let me go to something else. The fires, we can go in a lot of places with this, but the Maui fires killed 100 and something people. We got 104 children still missing from that fire. And Biden was over there trying to compare his problems with their problems. They lost everything they had. And he stood at the podium talking about a grease fire they had in the kitchen one time, and he almost lost his cat. I was so embarrassed. And these people here were nothing. They only have a stick. Can you imagine looking at your house trying to find that cup that your grandmother used to drink coffee, find that plate that you used to, your favorite plates? You got nothing left. Everything's melted. You don't have anything left in your house. And one fellow was sitting there saying, did you find anything left in your house? He said, find nothing. He said, I had an old pipe. I used to smoke tobacco. I can't find that. So just think about being in that situation. And your president stands up there and talks about, I almost lost my cat. And I almost lost my wife, which she was just like, she didn't know about it. But like, and she was standing right behind him like, I did? And you lost me, you know. He's such a liar, and you don't know that you're getting that right information. So I don't know, except that Brainstorming America is the place you get your real, truly information right here. But it's not out there, folks.
Well, and it's so disappointing to see what's actually occurred in Maui and how that has impacted the nation as a whole, especially their tourism and all of the things to follow. They're still not sure that arson is not connected to this particular situation. But we know that more information will be forthcoming, and we hope that we're going to be able to introduce some of that information to you soon. We'll join you in just a few moments for the last segment of Brainstorming America.
Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins here with John Merrill. John, when we went to break, we was talking about the fires in Maui. Let's go to something else now. A lot of states, I know, especially Virginia, North Carolina, some of the states are facing lawsuits against the males entering female sports. There also the transgender thing. I don't know if I got a segment on here for that or not, but I know that, yeah, there is one. I will skip to that, the transgender. But the sports where they're allowing men into women's sports. That's the thing that boiled my blood. It's on the news every day. That young girl that won the championships. Now she's become an advocate.
Yeah, Riley Gaines.
Yeah, Riley has put her. She was going to be in a dental. Did you know that she was going to graduate and do the root canal?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd love to get that. Certain people I'd like to get in the office and being able to do a root canal on
Yes,
them.
sir.
You know, most of them are politicians.
Right, no doubt. You know, let me say this. You touched on a couple of things, Ken, that I think need some attention. First of all, there's only two genders, male, female. You can say you're transgender, you can say you're transitioning. You may be transitioning and you may think you're transgender, but there's only two genders, male and female. That's been determined since the beginning of time. The Lord created man, that was Adam, then he created Eve, that's the female. And the female has two X chromosomes, and the male has an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. And you can position yourself and you can identify yourself and you can identify as whatever you choose to, but there's only two genders. There's a male with an X and a Y chromosome and a female with two X chromosomes. That's the end of it. There's no more discussion about it. Now, if you want to dress up like a woman and you're a man, then that's your business. If you want to walk around and tell people that you're a woman and you're actually a man, you were born with biological parts as a man, then that's your business. But don't try to convince people that anatomically that you are able to carry a child if you were born as a male. Don't try to convince people that as a female that when you go to the restroom that you will urinate in a standing position. Let's be clear about where we are and what we're doing. In the Bible, it talks about the end of times and how people will have mixed messages and not really understand things that are being presented to them. Friends, we're in that position today.
Yeah.
We've got too many people that are so confused about what's actually going on scientifically as well as just in their daily lives because of the way that the message is being portrayed to them. Whether it's library books that are inappropriate for certain ages that are being suggested that children read those, whether it's being an individual that talks about how this person that created a superhero, their son was actually homosexual. That's their business. But we don't need to be sharing that with our young people and trying to form their thinking about a particular topic because that's the political position that we have. We need to continue to advance the teachings of the Bible the way that they were presented to us so that we can continue to be the Christian nation that we were founded to be. And we need to start by remembering that there's two genders, male and female. Male, XY chromosome, female, two X chromosomes. That's the end of the story.
So I'm not going to get to be a unicorn.
You can be whatever you choose to be.
I tell you, it was, I saw.
But we're not changing the name of the show.
I hear you, brother. I seen a woman from one of the Harvard, maybe Harvard, and she was talking about the way she conducts a class of little kids. I'm talking 7 and 8 now. It's like, Susie, have you ever thought that you wanted to be a boy? And Susie, well, did you ever want to run like the boys and shoot guns like boys do? All the things boys do, fishing? Yeah. Well, would you like to become a boy? So that day, that Susie becomes Billy. Now this secret, she said, is between her and the school. She's one-on-one with this little girl. This is our secret. No mama, no daddy, nobody knows that from now on in the school, you're Billy. You're going to get to be who you want to be. And said, we'll watch Billy, how he does as he's transitioning at the school.
Mm.
Now this is people that you trusted your child with to go to school and to come back smarter, and she left, but not to come back as another gender.
Right.
And that's what's happening in some of the Virginias and places like that. And so to see those people doing that, it's just scary to what it could be. Because
Very scary.
I know a person that's probably within a stone's throw of us that used to watch people come in for the change, if you will, from male to female or whatever, or vice versa. And it was outpatient surgery, and it's in Birmingham, Alabama. And she used to be there when they do that. It's amazing that you passed a lot of people today was a woman that's now a man.
Sure.
And so I'm so confused. I don't know.
But that's their business. And the thing that you have to remember about it being their business is you need to keep it to yourself because it's your business. But don't try to put your political position and don't try to put your political philosophy on someone else. Share your thoughts and your ideas and be who you think you want to be. But don't tell somebody that you're a biological man if you were born as a female with 2 X chromosomes. And don't tell somebody that you're a woman that can have children if you were born with XY chromosomes as a biological man with biological men's parts.
And
that's not going to work out in the long range scope of life, period.
And teachers don't try to to indoctrinate our children. Please don't do that. That's not your job to change a child's beliefs from what their parents would say. You're not the parent. That's up to them.
No doubt about it. And Ken, as always, we've enjoyed sharing this time with the audience today. We've enjoyed having an opportunity to present another episode of Brainstorming America to you. We hope that if you have any suggestions about topics that we need to cover or the way that we should cover those, that you'll contact the station that carries this broadcast to you. And you'll let us know because we want to hear from you. We're always excited to be with you each and every week. We look forward to you joining us again next week for the next exciting episode of Brainstorming America.